Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit. Good morning. It is Detroit Lions Victory Monday. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is September 23rd. It's 7:55 a.m. Rocking and rolling a little bit early this morning, so it's going to be a short show. Eric's going to be off today, and I've got some things I've got to do. So I'm going to be off probably around 9:15-ish. We'll see. But I definitely have to skate by 9:30. So we'll get to as much as we can today, but we're going to have to save some stuff probably for tomorrow as well. And can't wait to hear what Coach Bono has to say. It'll probably be later on this week. And we'll keep rolling throughout the week. Man, we've got a jam-packed week, though. We've got to get ready for the Seahawks in a hurry. We got an extra day off. And, man, are we going to need it? Because one of our biggest topics of discussion today is going to be injuries. A lot of injuries. And the Lions are going to be nursing a lot of injuries throughout the week. And some of them might be multiple weeks. The Lions did get better news last night, but still some of these players are going to be dealing with some big time nagging injuries, if you will, that are going to hinder them throughout the season. Where I'd like to start is I want to thank everybody that participated with the Rock Down Cancer Foundation last night. I think we pulled in close to $300 last night, so that means that we're going to be able to give a helmet to the EUP Hospice on Monday Night Football at the Uperman tailgate. Can't wait to see everybody down there. Be a different area as Eastern Market is clearly going to be closed for the season for tailgating. And good morning, everybody in the chat. Let's see who's rocking with us this morning. We have John Desage, Mike P, Motown Mitch, Casey, Jay-Z, Jay Cruisin. Jay-Z, I thought you were on the run. You know, I'm just kidding. Not the right Jay-Z. And Fred Peterson, good morning, everybody. And everybody listening behind the scenes, welcome into Rise and Grind Morning Show this morning. Let's start with some injuries. I'm going to read Pride of Detroit this morning since they've already done a wonderful job. Saves me a lot of time. Let's break it down here. So right away last night, one of our first injuries of the night was Dan Skipper. So very early in the game, like, was it second play of the game? I think it was. Dan Skipper went down with an injury right away, but he quickly put his helmet back on and was installed back into the game. Seemed to be okay. I'm sure we'll learn more today. Obviously, Dan Campbell has to get through today. They have to go through testing. They have to see doctors before we can really get all the final reports this week. Levi Onwuzurike or Levi Onwuzurike, excuse me, was a big one last night. He did walk off under his own power. This was just the second defensive snap of the game, and he did return. But it's something that we're obviously going to keep an eye on. So there's some good news here that, whatever he went down with last night shouldn't be anything that is going to keep him out this week. He's going to have some work to do to get back to make sure he's fully healthy. But that one, we're more hopeful on, right? And Alex Anzalone, update on Alex Anzalone. He is trending, obviously, in the right direction, has been all week last week. Lions are smart enough to keep him out of the game, give him some extra time to rest. I think that's the right thing to do with concussions. I don't think you should ever rush anybody back, no matter how good they feel, in the same week, or within 7 days. I just think that's foolish. I think that all players should have 2 weeks off minimum when they have a concussion, and obviously still get fully paid and all that good stuff. Terrion Arnold was a big scare last night. So Terrion went down with some sort of a knee injury. It was announced that he would be questionable to return, but he did, come back into the game. And this was the play where Kyler, he took off. It was one of the early runs of the game. And when he dove, I swear it looked like Kyler dove at his knees on purpose, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look at the tape today. I still haven't had a chance. Obviously, late last night, we finished the play-by-play and then the wrap-up show, and the tape still wasn't out. At least I didn't see it before I was headed off to bed. So we'll look at it today. Arnold did try to test out his leg for several minutes on the sideline. He sat out one full possession, and then he did return for the Cardinals' third drive, and then he remained in the rest of the game. Kindle Vildor got a little bit of action in his place. Another big injury is Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes probably had the most concerning of the injuries. He was carted off with a leg injury after being hit with a cut block. Again, the NFL, they need to figure it out. I saw so many egregious penalties last night. I mean, it's unfathomable how many times Aiden Hutchinson does get held and I mean, egregiously thrown to the ground. Nothing called, right in front of the ref, right in front of the quarterback where the eyes are. Why is it happening? And why are players doing cut blocks like this and it's not getting flagged? If that was a Lion, I have to say it, I feel like it's going to get flagged. Terrion gets flagged for just breathing on people. So something's got to be done here. The Lions need to step up and make Roger Goodell aware that this kind of crap is going on. Officials, referees, in my opinion, are now questionable the rest of the season. Can't be trusted. I'm not looking forward to this Dallas game. I think it is going to be a referee worked game, and something's going to happen. I just have that feeling. It's starting to grow. So Derek Barnes, obviously, big hit on the, I guess it'd be on the lower legs, that he's looking at having an issue with this week after the cut block. He's been okay. Not that, an injury excuses any sort of play because he's been healthy the whole season. But he's been okay throughout the season. I would like to see the Lions step up and go after a linebacker. Maybe they can find somebody. Devin White comes to mind. I know he plays middle linebacker more often. I don't know if he can play Sam or Will linebacker, but Devin White comes to mind. He is someone that has a lot of experience. I'd be interested to see if the Lions are going to be looking for a linebacker this week just to beef up this room. I mean, we still have Trevor Nowaski. He's young. We have Ben Nyman. He got plenty of playtime last night. But Derek Barnes is a big hit to this defense. Obviously, special teams as well as the defense as a whole. But we could still use an upgrade. Barnes got burnt bad last night, by Kyler Murray. He did not set the containment. But injury, what we're talking about, he should hopefully be back soon rather than later. But he's going to probably need, the bye week before he comes back. We'll find out more information hopefully today. Sam Laporta, this is obviously one of the bigger ones. I mean, Sam has had a rough season, a rough go at it already. Appeared to be hampered by hamstring last night. So I think that a lot of us seen during play last night that Sam Laporta was kind of banging on his hamstring like he was having a cramp or something. I deal with those every day. I know what it's like. So that's kind of what it looked like. But then it was reported later that he suffered a lower ankle injury. Lower ankle sprain is what was reported at the end of the game. He'll have testing today just to see the severity of it. This one probably won't keep him out this weekend against Seattle, or next Monday against Seattle. But it is something that's going to bother him. I'd say after the bye week, he could be fine. But again, it depends on the severity or the grade of the sprain and exactly what's going on. We just won't know until later on in the week how he's trending. I would say our biggest loss of the night is going to be Ali McNeil. And then obviously the scarier injury of all of them is Brian Branch. Ali McNeil was injured on Arizona's final drive of the night, and he left the game walking off under his own power, but a bit gingerly. He was questionable to return. Obviously, with a shoulder injury, he did not come back. It was kind of a weird play. When you go back and watch it, I did rewind it a couple of times. He left his feet, and then he landed really funny. In betwixt all these bodies, he just kind of landed funny. And I don't know if it was the camera angle that I had. You couldn't clearly tell that he had a shoulder impacted, but I think it was the way that the arm kind of went up. So if it went up and it popped, this joint or the collarbone, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm guessing here, that's probably where this shoulder injury lies. We'll find out, hopefully this week, but wish him the best in getting back. And then Brian Branch, man, Trey McBride lowered his head. Brian Branch was already going down to make the tackle, and McBride lowered his head and collided with Brian Branch. Brian Branch looked knocked out. Don't know if he was for sure, but he looked knocked out on the field right away, and he entered concussion protocol for the rest of the game. So those are the big losses. Those are the big injuries. Too many, just too many injuries. Too many. These guys have my best wishes to get back on the playing field, but more importantly, their health is most important, and they take care of that first. Next up on our roster here, we have. Let's do some daily headlines here. I forgot to switch scenes. Here we go. All right, so let's do some daily headlines here. What do we got going around the league? Sports Illustrated. Offense bounces back. Defense contains Murray. I'd have to say it was probably one of the most well-disciplined games I have watched from this Detroit Lions defense in the last 4 seasons. In the pregame, you guys know that I was all about this defense just staying home. Forget the sacks. Forget all about it. Forget they even exist. Just stay home. Play containment. Do your job. Make sure you got some eyes on Murray. And that's exactly what they did last night. Now, I did not pick up last night if they were spying Murray at all. I will find out when I watch the tape. My eyes were elsewhere. But I should have been looking because, you know me, I call for it. Non-traditional sense of a spy. All it means to me really is I want to see guys with their chest forward. I don't want to see everybody flipping backwards turned. I don't want to see that. And what I saw last night was Aiden, Davenport. I mean, everybody, around this defensive line was kind of hanging back a little bit. They weren't over pursuing. They weren't getting too deep. And it allowed this defense to make plays when Murray, was feeling the pressure and started to move around the pocket. I mean, Murray got off a couple of runs, but that was it. I mean, limiting Murray to less than 50 yards on the night, it's exceptional. It's an exceptional night. So, yeah, Mateo, we haven't hit our markers, buddy. We've got to get the likes up to keep the ads off. So we've got to hit our markers, and then ads will remain off. I apologize, but that's the trade. We trade likes and, for no ads. We just haven't hit our markers the last few streams. So I apologize. Ads gotta be on. Because there's only 2 things that help us with YouTube. And that is you showing up, you liking the stream, you subscribe in the stream and sharing the stream, or we keep ads on because YouTube likes money. So if we keep the ads on, they pump us up. If we don't, they don't take care of us. It's just the way it works. I can't do anything about it, really. So, headlines of the week. Lions grades, defense protects, offense hot start in week 3. It was really nice to see the Lions just ran up the middle, started getting things going hot with the run game. Again, in the pregame show last week, I said one of my most important things of this game is we needed this offense to show up and play bully ball. Just show up and just start cramming this ball down their throat, and this offense has to have their best week. And they did. So much so, Frank Ragnow scored a 99.9 on PFF. I have never seen a 99.9 on PFF, ever. I don't know if it goes to 100. I don't think I've ever seen anybody or heard of anybody getting 100 on PFF. But 99.9 is an absolute insane score. Now, PFF has its own set of issues, right? There's a lot of wild things that they do and don't do. But for Frank Ragnow, here, actually, let me pull up the Detroit Lions here. And now it says in PFF that nothing exists. That's kind of weird. Nothing exists now on PFF. Do I got some weird cookies or something? What's going on here? Let me find out. It's blank. Has nothing for the defense, nothing for the offense versus Arizona. Maybe they made a mistake last night. They're trying to retract it all. Who knows? Let me clear some cookies, though. Yeah, still nothing. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, we'll move on from PFF. The rest of your headlines around the NFL or around the Detroit Lions locker room here. Defense really impressed on the road. They played well, and it showed up, especially, stopping James Conner to less than 20 yards on the night. That was another big thing in the pregame show last week. I said that no running back for this team was going to have over 65 yards. By limiting James Conner, by removing him out of this playbook for the Arizona Cardinals, you then limit Kyler Murray to a degree. Kyler Murray is always going to be 1.5 dimensional, in my opinion. Any dual threat quarterback still has that extra half a dimension. So even though that they have to beat you with their arm when their running back is limited, they can still hurt you with their legs. But the Lions did a great job at managing both Kyler Murray and Conner. This was the best defensive performance I would say we had all season. And yes, that did not include a bunch of sacks. And it did not include a bunch of pressure. It's kind of funny what happens when you just play disciplined football. You don't need a bunch of gaudy stat lines. You just need to keep the guys at bay, hold them in front of you, and go play football. That's it. You don't need a bunch. It's that simple. That's really it. Just do your job. Nothing flashy. Just go out there and play the game the way the game is supposed to be played. Sure, we love to see the big-time pressures. We love to see the big-time stats and the sacks and the interceptions and all that stuff. It's all great. It's all needed. Turnovers, I will always say, are going to be needed. But you don't want to cheat the game that it cheats you, right? If you cheat the game and you're cutting corners and you're not playing disciplined football, you're going to be the one that's going to get hurt in the end. And I think that's what we noticed last week versus Tampa Bay. Our offense, for whatever reason, wasn't clicking, but the defensive side of the ball, they made a lot of great plays. They hung around, right? They kept the team under, 26 points, I think it was, that Tampa Bay scored. Or maybe it was 24. The Lions still suffered some bigger plays on offense, or on defense, sorry. And that kept Tampa Bay in the game. When our offense couldn't score and our defense was doing everything that they could to limit Tampa Bay, they still suffered some bigger plays that kept the ball moving forward for Tampa Bay. Now, last night, that didn't happen. Last night, Arizona had a couple of big plays here or there in the beginning of the game, and then that was squashed. They played excellent. Terrion Arnold, he's standing on his own 2 feet right now, and he's doing a good job. I understand he's getting a lot of penalties, a lot of ticky-tack stuff. But some of it's warranted too. And you could tell that Dan Campbell is hot. And I think that's one of the topics this morning is, you can't have 9 penalties in a game and expect to win every game. Like I think we're lucky here that the Lions came away with this one with so many penalties. I mean, they sure shot themselves in the foot often last night, but they found a way to rise above it, right? They found a way to do something different the next play that kept them in the game. And that's a big credit to Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and everybody else making sure that these guys understand what they need to do to continue to win the game. One of probably my biggest downgrades of the night is Ben Johnson. Again, very weird play calling. I mean, I got to give him hats off, for that hook and ladder or whatever you want to call that play. Amazing play. Great time pulling it out. It worked. We scored a TD off it. And that'll work with JMO too. I think that's a great play to run with JMO. More speed, right? More opportunity to score throughout the game. You don't have to do a hook and ladder to have success though either. And that's what I'm worried about. Without the trickery, right? Without, these crazy little plays, we're not having as much success with the football right now. So something's got to happen here with Ben Johnson. So much so that we're going to go into the next segment. Dan Gambles of the game. There's only one. Dan Gambles of the game. Dan Gambles of the game. So it was just 1 4th down. And it was in the third quarter. See, his third quarter, about 3 minutes, 15 seconds left. It's 4th and 1 at the Arizona 34. And I mean, while we were calling the game, we said it. Look, they're gonna run the ball. they're gonna run the ball right there. Everyone's stacked up on the right, and you're gonna run the ball to the right. And that's exactly what we did. That's not going to confuse a good defense. It's not going to confuse a good defensive coordinator. It's not going to confuse a good Mike linebacker. It's too vanilla right now. Way too vanilla. You've got to employ some misdirection. Like your 4th downs, if you're going to go for it and you're having some great success, running the ball, number one, great, but don't do it out of shotgun on 4th down. Just run the ball up the gut if you're going to do anything. Power your guys, up the middle. Put some guys back in motion to get them down around the tackles. I mean, that's smart play calling. Bring your guy in motion and crash, in between the guard and the tackle and send Demo up that hole. Yeah, they're going to be waiting for you still. They're going to plan on you're going to run the ball right there. But at least you should be able to tell them, I'm running the ball right here. But the way my offensive line is playing right now, you're not going to stop me. But instead, we kind of told them where we were running, but we didn't put anybody there to allow Demo to get that extra yard. So they can't stack up the defense against you, and you don't stack up your offense against them. It just doesn't work that way. You're not gonna take on multiple blocks as an offensive lineman and be able to push the pocket enough to get Demo free. You needed to put a tight end in motion, bring him down, or you needed to stack. You put Parker, Hess in something. You needed some sort of a block beforehand. Yeah, we were better under center last night, JZ. That's an interesting point. It's a very interesting point. Goff had a lot more success under center than he had in shotgun. It'll be interesting analysis. So Dan Gambles of the game was only one. It failed. And again, I'm going to put this on play calling. The Jake Bates tracker. So did Jake Bates sleep at a Holiday Inn before the Arizona game? I don't know if he slept at a Holiday Inn in Glendale, but he must not have, because Jake Bates is no longer 100% on the season. He missed an extra point last night, and I believe it went wide right. Can't miss these. Absolutely cannot miss an extra point. I know it happens, from time to time with varying players, but it just can't happen. Like, this is too easy of a kick. It's the closest you're really going to get all season Yeah, there could be a little bit of pressure there, but he just kicked it to the right, and he's been doing that. He's been pushing the ball. I mean, sometimes it'll start left, it goes left. It'll start right, it goes right. It doesn't hook, it doesn't, turn. It just goes that direction. So my question is, why? Was he, if I look at it from a golfing perspective, was he, did he swing his leg, in? No, because that probably would have caused a hook. I think he just was late on the ball, like he just pushed it that way. And where he planted, maybe he got too far in front of the ball and it just pushed. Because if you think of like from golf, like if you're too early, like if you would have planted early and kicked, it probably would have pushed to the left. But if he was ahead of the ball, it probably would have pushed to the right. But anyway, either way, he's got to fix it. You can't miss extra points. We need every point in every game to ensure that we can win the game. But he's been doing great this season. Buckner missed one last night too. That's hilarious. Yeah, and then Peter, Dan simply refuses to use our kicker in games. Yeah, when we have an opportunity to kick field goals, he's not using it either. So the NFC North tracker. We'll get to that here in just a minute. We'll finish some more headlines kind of going around the league here and what's happening. Let's start with 4 downs on defense. Again, I'm going to bring this in from Tim Twentyman here. He's talking about the Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray had a perfect passer rating, 158.3 the week before in a blowout win over the Rams. Wow, the Rams had a great win last night. Fast forward to just 1 week, and we chopped it in half. Your Detroit Lions held Murray to a 76.5 passer rating. He didn't even get halfway to a perfect rating against the Lions defense. They really stepped up to the challenge this week and helped Detroit rebound by beating the Cardinals on the road. Dan Campbell after the game said that AG had a hell of a plan. I thought those guys on defense really played outstanding. I thought the 3 and outs there in the second half, the sudden change after the turnover offensively, defense takes the field and gets a huge stop. The 4th down stop, the turnover, all of it. It was good. The 4th down stop, Carlton Davis, way to finish on that play. And Dan Campbell having enough, wherewithal to make sure that he challenges that play because the refs were going to give them a 1st down when he was clearly a yard behind the sticks. And this is the crap that I'm talking about. Like, how can the refs miss something that badly? When can we just put, that, they've already got the tracker in the ball, right? Why can't we have the lasers on the field or whatever they're using? I don't know. I don't know what kind of tracking system they're using, but they can track where the ball is on the field. It would have told you that, hey, he was out of bounds and the ball was behind the line. Something's got to change. Especially on those plays. Like, the refs can't miss. The refs can't miss these types of plays. Like, that's their job. That's their only job. To make sure, 1, that there's not a bunch of penalties being committed, but 2, that the ball actually is spotted where it's supposed to be spotted. A whole yard off and you're missing a call? You're forcing the Lions to throw their flag, which thankfully got returned to them, and they didn't lose a timeout or anything. But they can't miss these things. These things happen far too often to the Detroit Lions. I don't see that crap happening to every other team in the NFL as often as it does to the Detroit Lions. I tell you, I started saying it last night, and I said it again this morning. I feel something brewing against Dallas. I really do. The way these refs have been all year, Terry and Arnold is going to have to literally tape his hands to his pockets. Otherwise, he's going to get a penalty after penalty after penalty. I can just see it happening. And it's nothing against his style of play because he plays fine. It's just, and I'm glad he's there. That's what I said last night too, is, you look at the difference here between the defense last year and this year, at least our guys are near the play, right? At least Terry and Arnold is near the receiver. So much so that he's getting a penalty for being a little bit too close, maybe a little bit too handsy, literally sitting inside the other guy's hip. That's a great, place to be for a defender, especially a cornerback. Jerry Jacobs would have been 15 yards down the other way. Cam Sutton would have been 10 yards the other way. Kendall Vildor last year, with the culmination of the terrible DBs that we had, also would have been, 6-7 yards the other way. Nobody would have been close. So that is a big time change, which is going to end up turning into turnovers. It is going to turn into bigger plays. And once Terrian figures out the speed and starts to slow down a little bit, he's going to be fine. Right now, I think the speed of the game is just a little bit too much for him, and he needs to slow it all down just a little bit, and he'll get there. And Trey says, make sure your like button isn't damaged. You just got to press it. Make sure it's not damaged. And we got 77 watching. We've only got 43 likes. We've got ads on until we get to 50. Let's just get to 50 and we get the ads off. And then we got to push it to 100 after that. It's going to be a short show anyway. So another quote here by Aiden Hutchinson said, I think that was our best defensive game. I didn't see these quotes, by the way, so I'm reading them for the first time. I think that was our best defensive game I've been part of, just collectively. It's not like we were sacking the quarterback that much, but I think with what they were giving us, we executed the game plan really well. Thank you, Aiden. You totally just backed up everything that I said all week long last week. It's exactly what I said. Just do your job. That's it. Just play disciplined football. That's all you have to do. Disciplined football. And I mean, he says in here that, it's not like we were sacking the quarterback that much. No, you didn't. You got one. And I think you had a total of 14 pressures on the entire game. Total. And I think Aiden had 8. So I'd rather see the Lions play that style of football all season. Sacks do not win games unless they are the type of sacks that flip the field, cause turnovers, negative yardage plays that make them punt the ball. That's how sacks can help you. But just getting a bunch of gaudy stats will never help you win a game. And last night proved it. You didn't need any stats to win the game. The game was already won when the sack happened. After scoring 20 points, the Lions offense slowed down in the second half. Yes, they did. But the defense came through and allowed just 3 points, playing terrific complementary football. I would agree wholeheartedly with that. Jared Goff had this to say. Our defense is playing really well right now. That's 3 straight games where they are doing some good things. We would love to stretch that game open and make it a 3-score, 4-score game. Man, that would be great, right? Jared Goff is not a little jaded by how good this offense is, he? He thinks that they can get up to 3 and 4 score leads. That's incredible. Anyway, he says, I'd love to stretch it to a 3 and 4 score game and end it a lot earlier than that. But they held on and made some plays for us and picked us up when we needed it at the end of the game. The offense, we were able to close it out. That's just, it kind of makes me chuckle a little bit thinking about what Jared Goff just said. Like he thinks that they can get to a 3 and 4 score lead, end this game early. I love it. I love that attitude. That tells you just how many weapons we have on this offense and how good this offense is going to be playing when they finally click. Week 6 is going to have to be that week. Obviously, we need to beat the Seahawks. Have to. It's a must-win game for us. We cannot let them to continue to come into Ford Field and beat us. But Dallas is a much, much, much bigger game. Much bigger game. All right, we got 50 in here. All right, let me get these things off. There we go. Good job, people. Good work. Jared had a phenomenal game. Do you guys realize that this dude went like 14 of 14 last night before he had his first incompletion or the interception? I mean, terrible interception, but 14 of 14 last night. He could have tossed a perfect game. I mean, obviously he didn't, but he was playing really well. I mean, he was seeing it, right? He still had some plays where he was holding the ball a little bit. He could have gotten the ball out a little bit earlier, but he was seeing the field really well. Now, this is a much different defense. Much different defense. What we played the first 2 weeks was probably two of the best defenses in the league. And when I say best, I'm going to go ahead and put them as a top 12 for the season if they stayed healthy. Some of them probably top 8. You know, either the Rams or the Bucks, probably top 8 defenses if they stay healthy. I know that both those teams they're losing a lot of players. Rams are absolutely decimated by injuries right now on the offensive side of the ball, and they still found a way to win. And a large reason is because of their defense. So the Lions played extremely difficult defenses to start the season, and I think that's going to help them, get up to speed quicker, right? Get the cobwebs out. It's a great test in the early part of the season. It's going to get them ready for this long stretch after week 5. And last night, you've seen what these Detroit Lions can do when they're not going up, against such a great defense. Arizona's still good, but I'm not going to put them anywhere close to what the Lions faced in the first couple of weeks. Budda Baker was a problem. White was a problem. But outside of that, this defense didn't cause a ton of issues. Their DBs were actually pretty good. Starling Thomas played a pretty decent game. And we didn't rack up a bunch of yards, passing the ball. I mean, he put up about 200, I think, is what Jared Goff had last night. So, he didn't run roughshod all over him. I would say that was probably the better part of their game last night was their DBs, which I don't think is the tale for Arizona. Let me take a look here. Oh, and I do want to make sure that I wish Eric Rentamaki and his wife this morning good luck today on everything that they're doing this morning. So they're fine. She'll be fine. Just wanted to wish them good luck. I'm glad that they're getting some things handled. So when we look at overall defense in the league right now, your Arizona Cardinals are ranked 9th. The Lions are ranked 10th. Now, this was updated, I'm not sure when. I would not say that the Cardinals are anywhere near sniffing 9th. Their pass rush grade was 90 point. I'm sorry, this is overall. Wrong. This is the wrong thing, PFF. Hold on. All right, defense. There we go. Lions are ranked 6th. My apologies. Scratch everything I just said. Lions are ranked 6th. Cardinals are ranked 24th. Somehow they have the Rams down at 24th, tied with the Cardinals. I don't think that's even close to being accurate. Not when you see how the Rams play. These numbers don't make any sense at all. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were at 19th. Again, those numbers don't make any sense. Red zone defense, they have the Buccaneers at a 40. They literally stopped the Lions 6 out of 7 tries last week. How are they at a 40.7? I mean, that game alone should keep them hovering in the 70s throughout the whole season. Just one game. They definitely shouldn't be down at a 40. That doesn't make any sense at all. Let me see if I can whittle this thing down a little bit more. PFF is on the struggle bus today, it looks like. I mean, I hit something and then it just disappears. Unless it's my computer, which shouldn't be. It's still pretty new. I'll digress off of this because I'm not ready to go through it, and it's going to give me a headache this morning just having to deal with it. We'll still do some headlines. Let's just keep going with some headlines. Recaps of last night's game. Second down. According to Tim Twentyman. So that was the first down defensively. Obviously, defensive plays, talking about Jared Goff. Jared Goff talking about the defense. Second down, dynamic duo, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. David Montgomery ran the ball 6 times for 39 yards, and Lions ended the drive with a touchdown on the first drive of the game. Jahmyr Gibbs came in for the second Lions possession. He ran 9 times for 34 yards in another touchdown drive. Here's my question, Ben. When something is working, why do we change it? So Demo just ran the ball all the way down the field. You know, Lions get in the end zone. And the next possession, you're like, yeah, that worked great. Let's do something different. I get the 1-2 punch. I get keep defenses guessing. I understand all that. I do agree with all that. But I think there's a time and a place for that too. Like if Demo clearly has the defense's number and he's able to do whatever he wants and he's not exhausted, let the man eat. Just let him run until he says that he needs to come out. And I understand you're probably pitch counting him a little bit, trying to save him for the end of the game, just like they did against Tampa, or I'm sorry, just like they did against the Rams. But it just doesn't make sense that we go away from what's working. Install Jahmyr Gibbs earlier. Let him get a touch. You know, let him use the 1-2 punch in that series. You know, Demo, Jahmyr. And then keep doing that until, Demo needs a break. And if, you'll finally get Jahmyr going, then you can install him, a little bit more as needed. And I want to see them both play. I want to see them both get their touches. Absolutely. But I think that there was a great point made last night by Chef. Great point. Does Ben Johnson, is he having a problem right now with all of these weapons that he has? Figurative weapons, right? I mean, your playmakers. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Sam Laporta, who seems to be struggled with injuries all year. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, who was visibly pissed off last night. He was not happy. I saw Goff talking to him on the sideline. He was not happy that he's not getting touches, but I think that stuff will smooth over with JMO. I think he understands that, the game is bigger than his stats. I hope he understands that. You have all of these options. Is Ben Johnson struggling to figure out how to use them all effectively? Because I made the rebuttal. I said Kyle Shanahan wouldn't. He wouldn't have that problem. Without a doubt, he wouldn't. He doesn't have that problem now. Sean McVay wouldn't have that problem. So I hope that Ben Johnson doesn't have an issue here trying to utilize everything that's on this team, because when we were without JMO, this offense was running way better than what it is right now. You add JMO to the mix. You also had Josh Reynolds. And I said it from the very beginning of this season. You let Josh Reynolds go, man, is that going to hurt this team. And I think they're seeing just how important Josh Reynolds was, and then just how, important that's going to be until another player like Tim Patrick or Allen Robinson or somebody starts to step up, which is probably going to be Tim Patrick. Somebody steps up to fill in the kind of, player that he was. It's not so much the stats. It's the type of player that he was and what he was to that energy in that locker room, and the relief that it probably gave Jared Goff knowing that he had him on the field. It's just interesting to me that we do struggle now with staying consistent from possession to possession. And what I mean by that is, 1 minute we're doing everything, right. We're having a lot of success with Demo. We're mixing up the plays. And then the next minute it's like, what just happened? We just went vanilla. I don't get it. Is Ice Ice Baby back? Is the 90s back? Because Ben Johnson needs to figure it out. He needs to switch up the music here and get us back to, where we were last season. As a mixologist is what I was calling Ben Johnson all last season. I thought he was the greatest bartender in the world, man. He was mixing up and dicing up so many different things. You had no idea what was coming next, and it was so exciting to watch. And this year, I just feel like I'm watching a stale rerun half the time. We eked it out. And I guess the last point I'll make on Ben, because I'm not trying to poo-poo on Ben. I think he's great. I still think he's one of the best in the game. I just think we're having a little bit of a struggle right now in the beginning of the season. That's my only point here. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I think Ben's awesome. But we definitely need to mix it back up. You know? Last year, my goodness. It was such an exciting offense. And this year, it's just kind of, we don't know what we're going to get from week to week. And it's not so much Jared Goff's fault. But the last point I'll make on this is, Dan last week, he talked about the trajectory, right? If you're kind of watching his stock, he's just kind of, it goes up and then it flatlines, and then it goes up and then it flatlines. Probably not a stock you want to invest in. Right now, we're kind of doing that, and then it falls down a little, and then going up, and then it falls down. So it's a traditional stock line, right? It goes up, and then it goes down. At some point, we just got to go up, and we got to continue rising. But we've got to hit that. We've got to hit that mark quicker. Because right now, teams are figuring this out. And if you're going to hold back the playbook, teams like Seattle, they will take full advantage of it. So my final point that I was going to make was this. Maybe, just maybe, through the first 4 games of the season, they are holding a lot of this playbook back because Seattle's a big game at home. They want to win that game. They probably have a special install for that game that they've been working on, and they want to keep it, under wraps. Same thing for Dallas. Another big game. I would expect that some of the plays that we're not utilizing now are going to come out. Last night, Ben Johnson pulled one out. That hook and ladder. I'm sure he did not want to use that. But he did. Because we couldn't get things going. I guess my last point on this whole thing is the third frickin' quarter. I had a request last night to deep dive the third quarter. And to go back to 2022 and just kind of talk about what in the world is going on. This is a big assignment. And I'm going to try to get it done for the bye week. Because I'm going to have to do a ton of research and really go through a lot of plays and go through my own research and look from week to week what happened. I'm going to start following the third quarter a little bit more closely this season so I can keep those notes. But our third quarter is atrocious. Where teams are supposed to get better in the second half, I mean, the analogy, they're a second half team, didn't just come out of left field. I mean, that's a real thing in the NFL. It's a real thing in Pee Wee football. It's a real thing in any level of football. They're a second half team usually means that, one or the other is going to come out of the locker room a better team. And it's usually your offense or your defense, right? You got 2 options, offense or your defense. One of them is going to come out a better team to help win the game. So if they're having a slow game, that offense starts slow in the second half, they're going to pick it up because they're a second half team. Right now, we are typically a first quarter team and a fourth quarter team. We get about halfway through the second quarter, we can do a little bit, and then it starts to die off. So something's going on here. Tarantino, no, I'm not saying that Josh Reynolds is the issue for our third quarter at all. No, it's not it. That's not what I'm saying. Josh has nothing to do with the third quarter. This is a play calling thing. It's evident. So to your point, it's not personnel. It's evident right now that it's not Josh Reynolds. It's evident that it's not Jameson Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta. It's play calling. Because if they can do everything with the team that they have now in the first, second, and fourth quarter, what is changing in the third quarter? But sometimes, I mean, you guys know this. Like, if you get something in your head and it's hard to get it out, you might sabotage yourself because it's so ingrained in you to think that, oh my God, I'm going to screw this up. Here it's coming. The third quarter's coming and we suck and I'm going to screw it up. And this is what's going to happen. And you put it out there and it's going to happen. Maybe this next third quarter, when the kickoff starts in the second half, every single Lions fan needs to put out some good energy, right? We need to put it all out there. We're going to have a great third quarter. So the next third quarter in Seattle, I'll be there with Eric. Just everyone just say it out loud. We're going to have a great third quarter. Best third quarter ever. Just say it. Don't say we're going to have a bad one. Or don't say, oh, God, here comes the third quarter. Everyone just say we're going to have a great third quarter, and let's see what happens. Let's see if we can push the energy the other way. Because I think we need it right now. We need something. But yeah, to Steve K's point here, losing Josh did mess with the chemistry. Absolutely. Oh, did I misunderstand you, Tarantino? I thought you said that something about, here, I'll just read it. My argument when it comes to Josh is we haven't done anything in the third quarter this year or last, but somehow if he was still here, it would make a difference. You doubted it. I mean, I get it. I thought that you were trying to say that I was trying to say that Josh is the reason why we didn't have success in the third quarter. I think it's play calling, and I'll leave it at that. Steve D, there you go. So I said it last week, all right? Is Hutch still chasing sacks and hurting the D? I think that this weekend, no. Absolutely not. I think what you finally saw was a disciplined defense that doesn't need a bunch of sacks, doesn't need a bunch of stats, just needs good pressure, people to stay home, athletic guys that can make some plays. Conversely, in the games that we've lost, I mean, I can go back and do a video on all of it at some point. I don't want to trash Hutch that bad, but I could point out some things that are really bad where he is just chasing numbers. And when you start chasing numbers, you lose focus in sight of everything else around you, which is your team. And you lose focus of the play. And I don't think that Hutch is that kind of guy. I really don't. I just think he has such a high motor. And he's got like this one-track mind that, and that's not a negative. I think his track is just, I want to shut down everything in front of me instead of thinking the bigger picture. So I think that at times, yes, Hutch was chasing some stats and some numbers, and it kind of got us in trouble. Last night, you saw a total opposite Hutch, and it was perfect, man. It was a perfect game plan. He didn't get too out of control. And that's the same for everybody across the defensive line. They played under control last night. It's amazing what you can do when you're disciplined. So thank you for bringing that up. I think it is a fair point that, yes, when you chase numbers, you are not helping your team. Let the numbers come. The only number I think that these guys are going to care about is that they get to how many wins, right? How many wins in the postseason do they need? 3 or 4? That's the only number that matters right now. We either going to have 3 or 4 wins in the postseason. Depends on where you end up with a first seed or second or third or whatever. You need 4 wins. If you get a first round bye, you need 3. That's the only number I care about. Aaron Glenn gets my game ball last night. I didn't talk about game balls. Right, but Aaron, I didn't watch to see what Dan Gamble. I call him Dan Gamble. I do that often now. I didn't watch to see who he gave out game balls to. But Aaron Glenn gets a game ball from me, flat out best coached game of his career in Detroit, and not the best defensive performance either. Best coached game for Aaron Glenn. This is what we needed to see from Aaron Glenn. There's been a lot of doubters. I've really never doubted him. I thought it was a personnel issue. I thought there were some bad coaching issues in there too. At times, he's not calling, things that we feel could make sense. But again, that's just our opinion. And, I'm not a professional, right? I'm sitting here in my Monday morning GM chair. It's just based on what we see. And last night, I saw a disciplined approach, a very tactical approach. These guys were operating at a different level, and they were just doing what needed to be done on the play. They didn't do too much. They didn't, not too high, not too low, right? Just do enough to maintain Kyler Murray in that pocket. Let him beat you with his arm, and let our DBs beat him on the backside. And they did. Great plays last night by Terry and Arnold and Carlton Davis. There was a few big plays, but great plays last night. Good morning, King SJ. How you doing this morning? Peter Van Larhoven, thanks for joining us this morning. Trenell Harris, that's a new name. Dolomite, good morning. Who else do we have in here? Brent DeWitt. Hey, he's back in the house. Good morning. Yeah, Dolomite. What's he say? Love your show when Shaggy's. Oh, hey. No, Shaggy's cool, man. Row. You're not talking about that dude. You're talking about Eric. Eric's great, man. Who else we got in there? Corey Patterson, good morning. Better shape up those second halves. Yes, we do. We've got to get this team, rolling in the third quarter. We can't be stumbling out of the blocks anymore. So the rest of our wrap up here, third down, Hutchinson's streak. So it may have taken 55 minutes talking about Hutch and streaks and sacks. 55 minutes into the ball game where Hutch was able to get Murray for a sack. After a mostly frustrating day of battling chips and double teams. Look, that's not frustrating. He's going to get that. And matter of fact, I would say this. If you're more concerned with sack numbers and stats and all that stuff, then if Hutch was dealing with chips and double teams, then somebody else should have been open. Because you definitely can't double team more than two guys. There's no way. It's not possible. Hopefully tomorrow night when we do the tape review, I'm going to have this this new system that I can write on the screen, so I can do like telestrator type stuff, like Madden. I'll be able to draw on the screen live and point out things, and that should level up our experience when we do the all 22 review. And I'll have to get better at it. I'm still looking for a software that can help me do it a little bit easier. If you guys know of a software, how to do it, please tell me, because right now. I have to do a mirror and an overlay and a green screen. I have to do like 6 different things just to make it happen. And I'm surprised at 44 years old that I can even figure this stuff out. But anyway, it was a big day, our big play, because it forced a late field goal with the Lions holding on to a 10-point lead that would have put the Cardinals behind the 8 ball, and they never got the ball back. It's a great point by Jeremy Reisman. I think that's who wrote this article. He says it was sack number 6.5 for Hutchinson on the year. He's now recorded a sack in 5 straight regular season contests, which sets a new franchise record. I don't care about franchise records. I really don't. I mean, I think they're great. I really do, but they're not playing 16 games anymore. They're playing 17. I want to see the new 17 game records and how they stack up, against the 16 game. And that's not just for Aiden. That's for everybody. That's rush yards. It's pass yards. It's everything. Quote, it's great. Hutchinson said of the record, I feel like a lot of my glory goes to God because it's just the right place at the right time. I think it's that and your teammates all rushing hard. I think that's really what it comes down to. It's a blessing for sure. We're just going to keep it going week by week. Hutchinson finished the game with 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 2 quarterback hits. Phenomenal game for Aiden frickin' Hutchinson. Great game. It's special, man, said Goff of watching Hutchinson play. He said it's fun to watch and practice. You could see he took his game to the next level this whole offseason. His whole body changed. You can see he's growing mentally and physically and coming into his own as a player, certainly. I'm glad he's on our side. I am too. Hutch is a great player when he's under control. That's all I will say is when he's under control. Dude is phenomenal. Does great work. There was a point in here though that I wanted to touch on. Where was it? No, maybe not. 4th down. Creative play calls. Finally. Right? We get one creative play call with Ben Johnson out of this game. But all 3 Lions coordinators deserve a lot of credit for the win as the Lions played good complementary football on Sunday in all 3 phases. Glenn was particularly good at putting Detroit's defensive game plan together that limited the Cardinals' offense. That is why Aaron Glenn gets a game ball for me for this game. Not that it matters. He could care less. Offensively, coordinator Ben Johnson reached into the playbook a little bit at some opportune times, which is exactly what we needed. If he didn't do that last night, dare I say, we might struggle keeping this game as a W. It might have turned on its head for us, which is not good, right? We can't go down 1 and 2. Starting the touchdown play on the lateral from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Gibbs for the 2nd touchdown, to the 3rd and 12 run call to Gibbs that gained 14 yards in the second half, right down to the quarterback boot on 2nd and 7 with less than 2 minutes remaining that gained 8 yards and sealed the game. I think that I need to come up with an award that's called the Baby Giraffe Award. You guys know that I call, or the Broken Giraffe Award, whatever. We'll have to figure it out. I call Jared Goff the Broken Giraffe or the Baby Giraffe at times. He runs so awkward, man. And it's funny to me. It's just meant to be fun. No one wants to see Jared Goff run. Like nobody wants to see that. I mean, you saw Keenan on TikTok or whatever it was this last weekend. He was losing his mind when Jared Goff was running around last weekend against Tampa Bay. Nobody wants to see it. I'm glad that he got down. Even his slide was a little bit sus, but it was a good slide. We'll just say that was a good slide. You know what I'd really love to see, in plays like this? When can we start installing a little bit of Hendon Hooker? And I'm not saying I want Hendon back there under center, snapping the ball. No. But why not bring him in, right? Why not? Why not do something real crazy this year with Hendon? Get him some touches, man. The guy's crazy good on his feet. I'm sure that they could use him like a, Taysom Hill or something like that to a degree. He's not a tight end. He's not a running back. He's not a receiver. But there's got to be something that he could do, and it would really throw the defenses off. For instance, why not put him back there in a double set, running back, and you snap it, and you have him sit back there and toss the ball downfield? Everyone's going to be keyed in on him. You wing that thing out to J-Mo. I don't know. Just saying. It'd be fun to watch. It's unrealistic to think that, but I get to have those moments. It's been in since camp, said St. Brown, of the lateral play to Gibbs. I don't know if you guys remember, we ran it in training camp in a scrimmage against our defense, and it worked then. It's been up ever since, but this week it was actually up in one of our special plays, and he called it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, by the way, I have a meeting today trying to finish up coffee, waiting on bags. So we will have our first coffee coming out here shortly. I will say this. I've been talking about starting the coffee thing for over a year now, and finally getting to it. And then the Lions go in and start working with Ferris Nutt. I did call Ferris Nutt to do coffee, by the way. And just so happened, a month and a half later, they now have a coffee. I found that interesting. Just going to say, they should have just reached back out. We could have figured out a good plan, but they don't care about me. I'm just a little low man on the totem pole. But it would have been good, man. It would have been for a great cause, because all of it goes to Rock Down Cancer Foundation to help out people. And as you guys learned last week, we did lose Earl Hodwalker. He was one of the benefactors of Rock Down Cancer Foundation this year, and he did pass away last week. So my heart still goes out, obviously, to the family and his friends. But we did help Earl. And that at least makes us feel good that we were able to help him and his family and be there for him at a time of need. So what else do we have in Lions news? That is the question of the day. I'm going to have to save some of these things for tomorrow. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about. So I'm going to save the NFC North top players of the weekend and around the NFC North in 90. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. That's a longer conversation. And I do have to get motoring up to Grand Rapids this morning. So the Lions are getting back to what they do best. Let's talk about this one for a minute. I love this picture too. I don't know who that is. I know I've met him before. So the Detroit Lions threw the ball 55 times last week versus let me get these ads off of my screen. Whoever invented the total ad blocker is a genius. So the Lions threw the ball 55 times last week. What just happened with the streaming software? Why did it reset? Very interesting. Anyway, last week, they were trying to avoid getting into a fist fight with Vita Vea and punishing the Buccaneers defense. But fist fighting is what these guys are all about. They're backroom brawlers. It might not be pretty. It might not always be easy, but they can ground and pound anyone in the league. They got away from that against Tampa. They got cute. They lost. In Arizona, they were determined to dictate the terms of the engagement. They were determined to play Detroit Lions football once again. Quote, Dan Campbell said, this was going to be one of those gritty, grimy, unglorious type of jobs. They played like it too. That was end quote. They played like it too. They started the game with 6 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends, providing more than 2,400 pounds of human meat in the box. That's kind of a suspect statement. And coaches told the guys, as long as that first run gained at least 4 yards, they leave all the meat on the field until Arizona showed it could stop the fight. Dude, that is a way to go right there. Like, that's a way to start the game where you're telling your guys, you're in until they can show that they can beat us. Like, that's putting all of the energy, good positive energy on these guys to say, it's on you, man. Like, just go do it. Go do what you do best. Make them beat you. Because none of these guys want to lose. None of these guys want to lose a rep to anybody. I've got this funny picture that I found online. Let me find it real quick. I hope I didn't take it out already. But I've got this neat picture. I don't know who made it. But I'd like it to get redone and get it framed with newer. I'm going to have to find it. Shoot. Anyway, Jared Goff threw a touchdown pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, then hooked up with St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs for a bit of razzle-dazzle on a 21-yard hook and ladder for a touchdown. But other than that, Goff wasn't asked to do a whole lot in this game. He attempted only 23 passes, nearly as many that went to St. Brown alone in week number 2. The Lions wanted to make this game about what they've always done best under Dan Campbell, and that's exactly what they did. With Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs touching the ball 15 times on the first 2 series alone, both of which finished with touchdowns and combining for 188 yards rushing on the day. That's incredible. Incredible day again, rushing the ball. I have to say this. Montgomery, man. I mean, his jersey was like going to fall apart last night. He was tattered, battered, injured at times. You could tell he came out for a couple of plays and he wasn't feeling the greatest. Like Demo just, I said it last night, he might be the best free agency pickup that we've had. I mean, not talking about Goff, after 22, when this team was established, I think that Demo is the best free agency pickup that we've had. Graham Glasgow is probably a close second. Tim Patrick, we don't know enough about yet. Who else would be a top free agency pickup outside of Demo right now? Yeah, Corey Patterson. Love how Montgomery got carried for an extra 8 yards. Like, he was elevating or he was kind of levitating last night, and the whole offensive line just kind of picked him up and pushed him forward. But you know what's even crazier than that, Corey? Demo was pushing the pocket by himself last night. He'd get 2 or 3 yards, and it would turn into 5 or 6. And he's literally pushing these guys forward the entire evening by himself. That's good credit to all of his deadlifts, man. Over 700 pounds of deadlifts. Yeah, Demo is a truck, Larry. I would agree, buddy. I would agree. All right, so we've got over 100 people in, or we've had over 100 people in watching the show this morning. If we can just push those likes up to 100 before we get off, that'd be great, because I'm going to be ending the show here in probably 15 minutes or so. Make sure I have enough time this morning. I apologize about having to end it early, but I got a few things I got to get done today. Good morning, Michael Luquez. He says, good morning, Will and all. One pride, this train is back on track, baby. I appreciate you joining us this morning. Corey Patterson. Never mind. You guys are just having an interpersonal conversation there in the old chat. So here we go. Taylor Decker has been around a long time. He's never seen anything like it in Detroit. Here's his quote. I mean, this is up there with the best 3-game stretches I've seen. Decker told me in the locker room after the game. I guess time will tell, but I know the character of the guys on that defensive side of the ball. I know defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn is letting them play aggressive and kind of play with their hair on fire. I'm very confident they'll continue to do that. So that's Taylor talking about the defense. Not to switch gears too much here, there's a very long quote from Dan Campbell. And I'm gonna say this quote, and then I want to come back to something on the defense. and I'm gonna put this out there, and I don't mean for it to be negative. Let's talk about it for a second. Right after this quote from Dan Campbell. Here's what he had to say. We are a pretty resilient group. That will always be a part of who we are, I believe. We have the right guys, the right coaches, the right players. It is just about how do we play the game here. I think what helps is this game, we knew we were going to come in and this was going to give us our best chance to have success to establish the run. Really hit the ground game. And defensively, we knew we needed to bottle up James Conner up over there and stop their run. I think we can play different types of games. I mean, last week we scored on one or two of those in the red zone. Hell, we threw it 50 times, over 50 times, and we had a chance to win the game. I think that's what makes you feel pretty good. I feel like we can play different types of games. We can do whatever we need to do on special teams, defense, and offense. We just have to find a way to win every week. I agree with all of it. I think that our Lions team is multiple, and what I mean by that is whatever game that they're throwing at us, we can take it on. We have a plan for it, without a doubt. It's just executing after the fact. Here's the name I'm going to throw up from last night. Alex Anzalone. Alex Anzalone has been one of our defensive players since he's been in Detroit. He's also never not been on the field when we had a mobile dual threat quarterback that we're going up against. But last night, he wasn't on the field. And last night, we had our best defensive performance against a dual threat quarterback in the last 4 seasons. Question. Is Alex Anzalone part of the problem against dual threat quarterbacks? Is there anyone that could make an argument for that? I don't know the answer. This is more of a question. Observation, if you will. Or was last night purely about Aaron Glenn's defensive strategy that was better last night? I think that's a good question of the day to think about. Is Alex Anzalone part of the issue against dual threat quarterbacks and him not being in the game? Because Alex is one of those guys, when you talk about playing on fire, playing loose, Alex is that guy. I mean, he's another Aiden Hutchinson, high motor, all go, and he just doesn't settle down, right? I mean, he's just balls to the wall, snap to whistle. That can tend to get, guys in trouble at times. I do believe that Alex is one of the better linebackers in the league. He's definitely been, one of, if not the best linebacker on this team currently. But how much is that saying? We'll hear from, Coach Bono this week at some point. He'll give us, his wild takes or analysis from a coaching perspective, right? I mean, not everybody loves the takes because they can be hard-lined at times, and that's just part of the job, right? It's just part of what we do. And I'm not saying that Alex is a bad player, but he was out of the game last night. And the Lions played much differently. So something to think about. And we lost Barnes at some point too. Yep. Yeah, Barnes did get burned early. First quarter, it was like first or second defensive series. And he got burned on the outside containment where Murray took it to the outside for about 14. I mean, Hutch was inside, right? He was pushing towards the pop. Barnes needed to be on the other side of Aiden's shoulder. You need to be out more where the wide 9 is, not in tight like that. He just missed it. So something to think about. No, I'm not saying anything negative against Alex. I think Alex is a great dude. I think he's a great player, but it's something that hit me last night. Like, no Alex, and we're playing this well. I found it odd, oddly satisfying. One of those deals. All right, NFL power rankings for the week. Where did the Lions end up? 23 minutes ago, it popped out. So NFL power rankings, week 4, Detroit Lions, according to Sporting News, they are at 6. I don't know who this person is. Sayer Bettinger, NFL Spin Zone, has the Lions at 14. Taylor Worth, NBC Sports, has the Lions at 3, and Peter Dewey from Sports Illustrated has the Lions at 4. They have risen On everybody's list except for this Sayer Bettinger, not a clue who this dude is, NFL Spin Zone, but he does not give the Lions a very good grade. I did some research last night too on NFL Pick'ems, right? Because I started doing the NFL Pick'em this year, where I put out my weekly picks, and I started since week 1. Been tracking it. I was 6-10 in week 1. I was 11-5 in week 2, and I have not updated since last night's game. But I think I'm now down to. Let's see, Atlanta won last night, right? Or did KC win? I can't remember. I do not remember. So the Chiefs won. I had Atlanta winning. So KC won last night. I had it 24-20. It was 22-17. Man, really close game like I expected. So now that puts me, and I'll keep reviewing this. And the reason why I'm saying this is I inadvertently chose Jeremy Fowler to go up against this year. Like, that's who I wanted to compare against and see where my numbers rank, right? And I don't know where his number is currently, but I pulled some stats down. Like, they have everybody listed. In last night before the Sunday night game, the number one score was 28 wins on the year. And I'm sitting comfortably at 25. And right now I am 25 and 21 on the year, which is not terrible, especially considering that I started out 6-10. When all of these other players or all these other guys that are getting, and girls that are getting tracked, like, a lot of them won like 12, 13, 15 games in week 1. I don't know how they pulled that off. Week 1 was so hard. But I had a little bit of a resurgence going 11-5. And then this week I'm 8-6, and we still got 2 games to go here. So I'm not doing too bad. Like, my picks are doing pretty well. And I don't bet this stuff, but, and maybe that's why I'm doing well, because there's no money involved in it. It's just all for fun. So anyway, that's really it for today. I've got to get motoring onto an appointment. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, getting to, all of the rest of the stuff that we didn't get to today and more. We'll bring a high-level show for you guys in the morning. Phone lines. Look, phone lines are going to be open. I want to make sure that you guys can call in the morning and talk about your Detroit Lions. So if you don't have the number, please store it in your phone. It doesn't change. And it's just, have a conversation. Don't be afraid. This is the fan hotline. Just like any radio show, you guys can call in. We don't, share your information with anybody. We don't keep your phone numbers or anything like that. Definitely don't sell any information. Just call in, talk about your Detroit Lions or whatever you want to talk about. I don't care what it is. Bring up a topic of the day. I'd love to open up a segment where you guys can open a topic of the day. Usually I go to Mailbag. I am going to do Mailbag tomorrow. I got a lot of questions in over the last couple of weeks, and I just haven't been able to get to that segment. So we will open up the Mailbag tomorrow with a lot of questions from a lot of audience members. And some of them I'm a little late on. I apologize, but we'll still talk about it. But we'll get back to that tomorrow. You guys have been great. Go on Pride, go Detroit Lions. We'll see you guys back here in the morning. Have a wonderful Monday. Lions win. Lions 2-1, rolling. Back home versus Seattle Seahawks on Monday night. Well, I can't wait to see you guys there. It's gonna be a phenomenal tailgate event with Upermans. And please get out there and support your Rocked On Cancer Foundation on buymeacoffee.com/Rocked On. JMO jerseys, Penei Sewell helmet, Chris Spielman helmet. All sorts of things are up for raffle right now, and they're all ending soon. So you've got to get your raffle tickets quickly. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Maybe. Here we go.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grapes.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grapes.